of this women's finale. We get it started with Olivia Chamondy, 20 years of age, from Montreal, the Camo Club. Former 10-meter standout, focused on the 3-meter, gaining some international experience, and she'll get it rolling with an inward 2.5 tuck.
And good dive. Lower degree of difficulty in the tuck position. Landing vertical. I would just like to see her a little bit sharper on that entry to achieve that perfect rip entry that the judges are looking for. And that means no splash coming up.
Olivia Chamondy entering this final phase with a 273.25 in the preliminary round as her starting score, along with the 56.70. You see where she stands now. Each of these athletes with a score from one of 4 eligible events coming into this, plus what they score in this final to determine the final tally, the order of finish, and who will be going to Tokyo. And this is Melissa Citrini-Beaulieu of Canada. She is the synchro partner of Jennifer Abel, but trying to earn a spot in her own right here in a 3-meter event. She begins her first of 5 here in the final round.
Good dive. Inward 2.5 pike. This is one of the dives that she does in synchro with Jennifer. So she practices this one a lot. Is very comfortable on the inward direction, jumping away from the springboard, spinning back towards it. Beautiful pike position, nose right on the knees. I think she missed her hand slightly as she went into the water, but overall solid.
66 even for Melissa Citrini-Beaulieu, who handcuffed herself a little bit with a 275.10 coming in as her best eligible qualifying score. That left her with a lot of ground to make up to try and be one of the top 2 here. This is Caitlin Fung, member of the junior national team, 17 years of age, out of London, Ontario, and the Forest City Diving Club. And this is a real up-and-comer, competes in the 10-meter as well, and has fought through some injuries to put herself very much in the conversation for a bright future on the international diving scene.
And just not enough rotation on that dive. She needs to be a little bit stronger in the takeoff to get that rotation going. Just comes out a little bit early of that inward 2.5 pike and lands pretty short of that vertical entry that the judges are looking for in bringing up that extra splash.
FINA Grand Prix of Canada back in May. She earned a silver in the 3 meters, 54 for that dive for Caitlin Fung. Which brings us to a well-known figure in world diving, Jen Abel, vying for a spot in a 4th Olympic Games. Well, she's got that secured on the synchro level, but trying to add the individual opportunity. And she comes into this with a 363 from the World Series in Montreal in 2020 as her base number to build on.
2.5 pike. Beautiful start. She is such an impressive diver all around. It's been a tough year for Jennifer, not having that regular competition routine. With the World Series these past couple of years, she's gotten used to that cadence of the repeated competition and having that experience under her belt. More challenging this year, obviously not having those competitions.
She scores a 72, bringing her total to 435, and she says she's learned a lot about herself in this last cycle, coming off the 4th place finish individually and in synchro in Rio, putting diving in place and perspective in her life and rekindling her motivations. There's also an experienced athlete on the international stage and the leader in the competition to this point, Pamela Ware out of Green, and says she has never felt better than the way she's felt coming into these trials.
Oh, wow, beautiful back 2.5 pike. This is her favorite dive, and that's why she starts with it. And just beautiful technique, knows exactly where she is and controls that entry so well. We're gonna see great scores. Pam has definitely benefited this year from not competing and just focusing on training and refining all of her dives. It's certainly paid off.
And it pays off in an 81 even to begin things in the final phase for Pam Ware. That's an outstanding score. And she lets it be known early in this last round that she is going to be a force to be reckoned with. There's where things stand with 4 rounds to go in the women's 3-meter final. Pamela Ware with a bit of an edge over Jennifer Abel. Amy Wilson sitting in that 3rd spot. But Ware aware of what needs to be done and performing very nicely. She said that that year was really helpful in honing her craft. She did say that motivation was sometimes a struggle without competitions to shoot for, but just honing the craft the key, and she did a very nice job showing us what she's been able to prepare in that opening effort. Here's Melissa Citrini-Beaulieu once again. Front 3.5 bite.
Oh, beautiful. This is her most reliable dive. It's again a dive that she does in synchro with Jennifer. And partnering with Jennifer has brought out the best in Melissa. She's had the opportunity to partner with her for the last 5 years and has built a lot of confidence that's kind of carried over into this individual event as well. She should be very pleased with that dive.
3-meter synchro silver at the 2017 and 2019 Worlds with Jennifer Abel, and building her game solo, and a nice effort there. 74.4 for Melissa Citrini-Beaulieu out of the Camo Club. Down to Caitlin Fung once again. Junior Pan Ams in Chile in 2019, a 4-time medalist, including gold in the 10-meter synchro. Building a very nice resume. Back 2.5 pike on the way.
And that's a good dive, just slightly over-rotated. But again, she's a tremendous talent. She gets this somersault going, probably uses her shoulders a little bit. And what that does is that creates some momentum off of the springboard that's just difficult to stop and control for the entry. And what that results in is just slight over-rotation at the bottom.
61.50 for Caitlin Fung. You talk about using the shoulders. Is that maybe something that happens when you're not getting the spring off the board you're looking for?
Yes, and I can speak to it out of experience. That's always what I did on my back somersaults, backwards dives, and it drove my coaches crazy.
Better sense of herself, and she's bringing that to this competition. She says this is kind of a step-by-step thing on her way to peaking at the games.
Oh, goodness. Reverse 2.5 pike, and she missed the hurdle. She was way over the end of the board. You could see her toes over the edge there. That doesn't provide the leverage that you need. She's falling off of the board and isn't able to get the rotation. And that's a big miss for Jennifer.
Round 2 of 5, just 37.50 for Jennifer Abel. And I guess if anybody's going to have the mental strength to work through something like this, it's going to be Jennifer Abel with all of her background competing. Pamela Ware steps up, the leader in the competition. Pamela with many impressive notes along the way in her career, going all the way back to a bronze in this event, the World Championship in 2013.
And nicely executed front 3.5 pike. I think she was leaning slightly forward on the springboard there, her toes over the edge, but she does a great job of not panicking. And she's able to control that dive really well. And again, the number of repetitions that she's had in practice this year has really allowed her to build that confidence, not panic when she doesn't have a perfect hurdle, and land that dive well.
So after a terrific first dive, all right on the second one, she manages to make the best of it, 69.75. You see the look on her face. She knows, she's been there, and she's building something here. Our coverage of the women's 3-meter competition continues. We're halfway through round 3 of 5 on tap. And Blythe, your thoughts on what we've seen so far?
These divers are off to a great start. I mean, they've had lots of reps here at the competition, a lot riding on these finals. Olivia, front 3.5 pike, one of the more challenging dives. And you could hear right off the start, her timing with the springboard is not perfect. And so she just struggles getting the rotation she needs to fully complete the 3.5 somersaults. And she lands it okay, but I think we'll see some deductions.
This is Olivia Chamandy. 48.05 is what she will score for her third dive of 5 on this list in the final round. That was her highest degree of difficulty on that front 3.5 pike. Brings us to Melissa Citrini-Beaulieu. A face you will see at the upcoming games, regardless of the outcome in this individual event. 3-meter synchro partner of Jenna Bell. High hopes for a medal there. What can she do here in round 3? Back 2.5 pike.
Back 2.5 pike. This is probably her least favorite dive. She's very comfortable on the forward spinning dives and the twisting dives. Does not like back and reverse spinning dives. You can see she actually takes a while on the springboard before she goes. I think that's nerves. That's lack of confidence in this dive. Decent, but just slightly over-rotated, so we'll see some deductions.
Melissa Citrini-Beaulieu settles for 58.5 and 474 overall to this point in the competition. Remember, the top 2 in this final round will secure their berths on the Canadian team for Tokyo in the 3-meter competition. Caitlin Fung up next. Multi-board competitor, young and rising athlete on the Canadian diving scene, and all of this such valuable experience for these competitors in their early years. First 2.5 pike.
And I thought that was one of her better dives. She was off to a good start. She's a very talented young up-and-comer. You can see there's a little bit of inexperience in the competition. She gets off to a good start here, but lacks some confidence on the takeoff and the entry. Really needs to be dynamic as you come out of that somersault and be aggressive as you go after that entry.
58.5 for Caitlin Fung, 451.5 altogether. Smile on her face. She's open to learning and building as she works her way through these various steps on the path to what will be. Jennifer Abel before you now. Round number 3, second spot so far. Success internationally.
Oh, and beautiful front 3.5 pike. And this is where she is showing her poise and her composure. Did not have a good previous dive, but rebounds from that, showing her strength and power, and then also her sharpness on her entries. Really aggressive overall. We'll see some great scores.
Bounces back from that 37.5 on the reverse 2.5 pike and turns in a very impressive 79.05. Jennifer Abel, as you said, putting that background to work, understanding competition and how to get herself into the zone. Pamela Ware's been in the zone this week and ready to continue here in this final round. Dive number 3 of 5 on her list, and it's an inward 2.5 pike.
And this has been her least favorite dive. She's struggled historically with the takeoff, but I know she's been working on it really hard this year. Oh, wow, and that's one of the better inward 2.5 pikes that I've ever seen her do. Really confident in that takeoff, gets the somersault going, beautiful pike position. Her nose is right on her knees. The judges notice that. And she's very confident in the entry. That's the biggest difference here, is that she just doesn't hesitate. Beautiful. She and her coach will be thrilled with that.
Yeah, you can tell by the reaction. That's the feeling, that's the expression you get when somebody who's been working on something for a while is able to pull it off. Of this women's final. And there you see Olivia Chamandy out of the Camo Club. Made the switch from the tower. Inspired to start diving after seeing Alexandre Despatie on TV competing in Beijing. And I think he inspired a lot of people, but here is one example, and in that same sport.
And that's a good back 2.5 pike. I'd like to see her having a little bit more control on the takeoff. You can see what we spoke to before, she's using her shoulders to create the momentum, and that just creates rotation that's difficult to stop. The rotation at the bottom, slightly over-rotated, but overall, I think that's a decent dive for Olivia.
And it turns out to be her best score of the 4 so far in this final round. So I'm sure she will take some satisfaction from that. Olivia Chamondi brings us to Melissa Citrini-Beaulieu out of Saint-Constant, Quebec, 26 years of age. She was disappointed with the results of the 2016 Nationals, overhauled her approach, and it has helped her to advance in the Canadian program.
Reverse 2.5 pike, and she just struggled on that one. Again, these backward and reverse spinning dives, she's not that comfortable with them. Doesn't have a perfect hurdle, meaning her toes aren't on the very end of the board. So just doesn't create that full rotation that she needs to complete the 2.5 somersaults. Lands slightly short.
So in the last round, turned in a 58.5, 48 in this round for Melissa Citrini-Beaulieu. You talked about those two areas of improvement for her, for the back and for the reverse, and I know that she'll continue to work on those as she sets her sights on future targets. Jennifer Bell, her synchro partner, set to roll.
And this is a dive Jennifer's very comfortable with, back 2.5 pike. And good, but Jennifer's capable of doing that dive better, and she knows it. Looks like she travels a little bit from the springboard. The judges are looking for perfect distance, not too close, not too far away. Just doesn't get as strong as a jump and dynamic as a jump as I'm used to seeing her. And it's a good dive. She could just have been a little bit sharper at the bottom. So I'm being very critical, Mitch.
When you're as used to competing as she is and having that regular schedule, can it be difficult to build back into that competitive mode, that mindset?
Oh, absolutely. It's been a tough year for Jennifer. Again, she was really used to the cadence of the World Series. She likes competing. It builds confidence. And so you can just see a little bit of cobwebs for Jennifer, but I have no doubt that she'll be at her best.
Pamela Ware feeling good coming in. She's feeling like she's at her best. We've seen it so far, and here she is in round number 4. And Pamela with a reverse 2.5 pike here.
Oh, beautiful dive. She really loves this dive because she knows exactly where she is in the air on this blind spinning dive, looks at the water, and is so aggressive in the entry. This is beautiful. We're gonna see great scores. She's looking as good as I've ever seen her, and what a time to be looking so strong.
79.5 for Pamela Ware, continuing to impress at the top of the leaderboard, and you really got a sense of what was being accomplished on that dive on that last shot, Blythe, as we looked from the deck out towards the water and saw just how high she was when she completed her business and basically just dropped into the water.
Both Jennifer and Pam, the most impressive thing about their diving is how strong they are, how high they get up in the air.
Thank you so much, Andy. Round 5 of 5. Yes, it's the finale of the finale, if you will. Canada trying to determine 2 competitors for the games in Tokyo. And we begin this last look with Olivia Chamondi out of the Camo Club. 20 years of age, out of Montreal. First Canadian to reach the podium twice at a FINA World Junior since, Blythe Hartley in 2000. How about that?
Oh, and that's a nice front 2.5 full twist. Probably her best dive of the competition. She has nice timing and rhythm on the springboard, really aggressive, lots of elements in this dive. You're somersaulting, then you're twisting, and then you're getting back into the somersault, and you need to be square in the water, meaning there's no twisting at all. And she does a good job with that. I think she should be pleased with that last dive.
Olivia Chamondi concludes with a 60, her highest score of the final round. She'll finish with 5:37. And we might have jogged your memory a little bit there, Blythe, of times gone by.
Yeah, that was very long ago, Mitch, a junior competition.
Well, the memory still stands, I'm sure. Great accomplishment. Melissa Citrini-Beaulieu looking forward to accomplishments to come in her career as she continues to impress.
Beautiful. Same dive, front 2.5, full twist. Another dive that she does in synchro with Jennifer. Lots of confidence. You can see the difference in these forward spinning dives and the twisting dives. She's very confident, jumps way up in the air. You need to if you're diving next to Jennifer. And nice quality here. Is aggressive on the entry, and I think she'll be really rewarded with those scores.
There it is, 67.5 to finish for Melissa, who is headed there on the synchro team. What an impressive individual. Accelerated her program at the Université de Montréal during the pandemic to complete her nursing studies program ahead of schedule. So she's making it happen at the pool and in the classroom. And here is Jennifer Abel, looking to close things out here with something positive.
Oh, nice dive. Front 2.5, 2 twists, high degree of difficulty. She was the first woman to have this dive in competition. And she struggled with this dive in the semifinals, but not here in the finals. You're jamming a lot of elements into this dive, and she does a great job. I think this should help her build some confidence, get ready for the Olympics.
81.60, yeah, that's a ready performance. Highest degree of difficulty on her list, and Jennifer impressing there, Blythe.
Absolutely. She's so impressive all around, so strong and dynamic. And I think she's going to use these last few weeks to get really focused and sharp for the Olympics.
5 medals at the Pan Am Games, 7 medals at the Commonwealth Games. Just some of the accolades for Jennifer Abel. Pamela Ware in a dancing mood on the springboard, and why wouldn't she be? Round 5 of 5 is here, and she is in the spot everybody was hoping to be in. And she's going to close it out here with one final effort. And let's see how she brings it to an end with this twisting reverse. 1.5 somersault, 3.5 twists.
Oh, and unfortunately not the way that she wanted to finish the competition. This is the highest degree of difficulty. She's just added this to her list in the past year. She did it so well in preliminaries and semifinals. Her toes were over the edge on the hurdle. So she was missing a little bit of leverage for that full somersault. It's going to be enough to keep her in front of Jennifer, but I know she'll want to have that one back.
Is it tough to concentrate, you think, being in that position where you feel like in some ways the work is done, but you want to execute and nail that one final effort?
Oh yeah, it's hard not to be distracted. And again, she's looked so sharp from start to finish here. She knows she can do that dive better, but what an overall performance here at this qualifying event.
You see the smiles. The athletes have done the work. They have reached their target, and they are going together. Jen Abel